Hi guys, and welcome back to the world of 28mm. I'm Adam, and this week I'm going to show you how to seal your terrain. Okay, so we've gone through all the trees, we've gone through how to base them. Now that we've based them, we've got to seal them so that none of the fancy stuff that we've done falls off. All right, so let's head down to the table. We'll crack on. Now, as we all know, some gamers, tabletop gamers, can be quite heavy-handed. So we need to make sure that these pieces that we're making for our tables are going to be durable. You know, they're going to last a while. Now, as you know, we've flocked all the bases and we've put the foliage on and everything like that you've seen in the other tutorials. Now we need to fix it in place to make sure that when these things are transported or played on, that none of this flock is going to fall off, none of the foliage on the trees is going to fall off. So yeah, this is why we seal it, just to make it more durable. Now, the main way of sealing things, for me, is to use some PVA. Okay, and what we do is, I personally use an airbrush, but there's a couple of different ways you can do it. So first off is the airbrush. Okay, I mix up a 50-50 PVA water mix with a drop of Floaid in it, washing up detergent, and then give that a little swill around, and that just does the job quite nicely. Okay, so 50-50 into one of these. I think anyone who's bought a cheap airbrush has got one of these. So 50-50 mix with a drop of washing up detergent, and then put that through your airbrush. The other way of doing it would be if you save yourself a atomizer. You could use an atomizer. Now you'll find these in things like cleaning products, you know, basically the squeezy spray bottles. Now the other method that I was talking about is using an atomizer. Now you can find these usually, you know, in normal household cleaning products, so you know, like oven cleaner spray and things like that. Basically any squeezy bottle, spray bottle. What I tended to use back in the day was I went to a garden centre and I picked up a humidifier, and they're almost exactly the same thing, the spray bottles and the humidifiers, atomizers. It's just the humidifiers, because they're made specifically to make the air more humid, they have a greater spread, I guess. But basically, if you put too much PVA into a bottle and you spray it, it will just come out in like a squirt. But if you use an atomizer or a humidifier, every time it will always spray nice and evenly and open, so you can get a nice hit onto your terrain. Okay, so that's the other way of doing it. But as I say, for now, I'm going to use an airbrush. So we're going to take our mix that I mentioned earlier here. Now you're going to have to forgive me for the noise of the compressor, because it is going to... Okay, so I got my 50-50 mix in there. Now what we aim to do here is we're just going to cover that, spray the whole thing, but what we need to do is to make sure that the PVA that we've put down prior to, you know, just to stick the flock down and the rocks and stuff, we need to reactivate that with this. Now the way you can tell that that's happened is that when you start spraying, the PVA that we used to glue the flock down with will start turning white again. And essentially, because that's reactivated and you're putting another layer on this on top, it covers the entire thing, but because it dries matte you won't tell it's there. But that's why we say it's sealing it, is because you're creating another barrier on top of all of your terrain to make sure that it just stays there in place. Okay, so I'll just do a little corner of this one so you can see what I mean. Move that out of the way so there's got a bit of light to the trees there. Okay, and I'm just going to hit one of the corners with this, and I'll show you what I mean for when it turns white. Okay, so just quick test spray, get some going. There we are. Okay. Oh, I'm running my compressor at 15 psi. You don't want to go too high because you'll start blowing everything everywhere, and you really don't want to do that. You end up touching it all up again. So I'm going to come in with the airbrush. Get some coming out. and then we're just going to go over the edges here. Turn that round slightly. Okay. So hopefully, if I bring that up to the camera, you can see that it's gone white. So that if I compare it to another corner, so there's a untouched corner to our sealed corner, you can see it's got a white tinge to it, and basically we've reactivated the PVA underneath, which is then mixed with the PVA that we've put on top, and then that will seal all of your flock and stones and all the other little bits that you've put onto the base. And the same applies as well with the actual trees, because we've used the Blu Tack Stay Tacky spray. Basically, these are still slightly tacky, so if I touch them I could potentially move the whole base. So we're going to do the same again with this, and we're just going to go over it, but we don't need to see the white this time. We just want to give it an even spray to take away the tackiness and to fix all of these leaves in place. Okay, so I'll just hit this little one here. There we go, we've got some coming out. And you'll find because of the pressure will move the tree around, as you can see like there. But it's not to worry. All we have to do afterwards, if it ends up misshaping our tree, we can just go back in with our finger and just sort of puff it back out again. There, like that. Okay, so that in a nutshell is how to seal your terrain. Okay, so if you're using an airbrush and you've got one of these 50-50 mix, PVA and water with a drop of flow aid in, or you could use a humidifier or an atomizer, or even just a cheap simple spray bottle that the missus has thrown out because she's finished with it, you know, grab that. And that's how to seal your terrain. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. Like I said in the video, you can use your airbrush, or you can use a household spray, you know, like a disinfectant spray, or you can use a humidifier from a garden centre. That was my preference when I first started. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. Like it if you liked it, share if you think anyone else would like to see it. Don't forget to subscribe for next week's episode. Have fun, guys.